In a quiet town tucked between the sea and the cliffs, a boy named Ren grew up with a heart full of questions. From a young age, he noticed how the world seemed to have invisible scorecards, grades, trophies, praises, all measuring whether someone was good enough. Ren tried to meet them all. He was polite, helpful, always trying to do the right thing, and people praised him. Such a good boy, they said. But at night, when the applause faded and the house was silent, Ren would lie in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering why it still didn't feel like enough. No matter how well he performed, a voice inside whispered, "You should have done better." It was quiet, but relentless, like water dripping on stone. This voice wasn't anyone else's. It had become his own, and the harder he worked to silence it with success, the louder it seemed to grow. Something inside him always felt slightly broken, like worthiness was a goal always just out of reach. As Ren grew older, the checklist only expanded. Good grades weren't enough, he had to be the best. Compliments weren't enough, he needed validation. Every smile he wore felt rehearsed, every achievement a way to quiet the voice inside that still whispered, "Not quite." He became skilled at hiding his struggle. To others he seemed calm, driven, even lucky. But inside, Ren lived with a quiet desperation, forever proving, forever performing. He feared slowing down. What if people saw the cracks? What if they realized he wasn't as perfect as he pretended to be? So he worked harder, helped more, smiled wider. But it never stopped. Each new accomplishment brought a moment of relief, followed by that same hollow echo. Still not enough. Even in moments of joy, he felt a flicker of guilt, like he hadn't earned peace yet. His mind became a courtroom, and his inner critic, the judge, and no matter what he offered, the verdict was always the same. You must do more. One afternoon, Ren sat alone in a quiet cafe staring at his untouched tea. Outside, people passed with their own worries, but inside his thoughts screamed. He had just received news of another award, another title. Everyone was celebrating him, but he felt nothing. Numb, empty. The applause didn't land anymore. That voice inside had grown sharper, colder. "You got lucky," it said. "They don't really know you." For a moment, Ren's chest tightened. He wondered if he would ever feel peace, if he would ever believe he was enough without constantly proving it. He looked around and saw people smiling, talking, being present. He felt like a ghost. His life looked full, but he felt invisible in it. That was the breaking point. Not a loud collapse, but a silent one. A realization that he had built an identity not from truth, but from trying to outrun a voice that was never his to begin with. And for the first time he whispered, "I don't want to live like this anymore." If this story sounds familiar, maybe it's because your own voice is trying to be heard. Subscribe and let it grow stronger with every stories. That evening, Ren wandered aimlessly through the park near his apartment, the city lights blurring through tears he hadn't realized were falling. He sat on a bench beneath an old oak tree, shoulders slumped, breath shallow. He felt cracked open. That's when an older woman sat down beside him. She didn't say hello, didn't ask questions. She just sat quietly, like someone who understood the language of silence. After a few moments, she reached into her bag and handed him a folded note. "Someone gave this to me once," she said. "Maybe it's yours now." Ren opened the paper with shaky hands. It read, "You were never meant to earn your worth. You were born with it." He stared at the words. Something in him recoiled, wanting to dismiss it. But something deeper, older, leaned in. The woman stood and began to walk away. No name, no explanation, just that single message planted like a seed. And for the first time, Ren didn't push it away. The next day, Ren returned to the same bench, clutching the note in his jacket pocket like a compass. He didn't expect the woman to return, but somehow the silence felt like her presence lingered. This time he brought a journal. He flipped to a blank page and at the top wrote, "If I didn't need to earn my worth, what would I do differently?" The question felt strange, almost dangerous. But slowly, he began to write. He wrote about rest, about laughter, about saying no, about making things not to prove anything, but just to feel alive. Then, on another page, he listed every cruel sentence his inner critic had ever said. "You're lazy. You're weak. You'll be forgotten." He stared at the page, heart heavy. Then, without thinking, he drew a red line through each one, not to erase them, but to mark them as lies. For the first time he spoke back, not with anger, but with truth. "I am already enough." Later that evening, Ren walked to a small hill just outside the town. He carried the journal with him, pages fluttering in the breeze like leaves ready to fall. At the top, he found a quiet spot beneath a bare tree and sat down. One by one, he tore out the pages filled with the critic's words, the lies, the judgments, the voices that never truly belonged to him. He placed them in a small pile, lit a match, and watched them curl into flame. The fire was gentle but steady, like it knew exactly what it was there to do. As the paper turned to ash, Ren didn't feel triumphant. He felt still, clean, like something old had finally left his body. He didn't need to scream to feel free. Sometimes truth is quiet. Sometimes healing doesn't roar. It breathes. He sat there until only smoke remained. And for the first time in years, he didn't ask himself what he needed to fix. He just let himself exist. In the days that followed, Ren didn't feel transformed. He still heard the critic now and then, quiet, familiar, like an old echo. But now he recognized it. He didn't confuse that voice with truth anymore. Instead of shrinking, he paused. He asked, "Whose voice is this really?" And often he found it wasn't his. It was a teacher from years ago, or a parent's fear, or society's impossible standards. He began to separate the noise from his own knowing. He no longer waited to feel perfect, to rest, to speak, to create. He allowed himself to show up messy, unsure, human, and that strangely made him feel closer to others. He realized everyone carries a voice like his. Everyone is trying to remember they're already enough. Worthiness wasn't something he had to build. It was something he had to stop burying. And every time he honored that truth, even in small ways, it got louder. Not louder than the critic, louder than the silence he used to live in. One evening, Ren returned to the hilltop where he had burned the pages. The sky was streaked with gold and violet, and the wind carried the softness of something ending, or maybe just beginning. He sat in the same spot, journal in his lap, but this time the pages were blank, and he liked it that way. For the first time, he wasn't writing to fix anything. He was simply being. He thought about the boy he used to be, the one who tried so hard to be good, to be seen, to be enough. He closed his eyes and whispered, "You don't have to try so hard anymore." That boy still lived in him, but now he had someone to protect him, a self that finally knew the truth. The lights of the town flickered below. Ren smiled, not because everything was perfect, but because he was learning to live without needing it to be. And as the last light faded, a question echoed through him. What would your life look like if you stopped trying to prove your worth